Hey guys, it's Deborah. So today I'm going to be doing my favorite books of 2015. I was originally going to do 15 books, but I couldn't find 15 books that I just loved that I have on my shelf right now that I know for sure I read in 2015. I read most of the books that are on my shelf in 2015, I think, but I'm not sure if I read all of my favorites, if that makes any sense, for like the first time. Okay, so I'm just going to go through all of them because I think there's 10, probably. I don't know. So number one, or the first one that's on my list, because these are in no particular order, none at all, promise. So the first book or series that I loved was Percy Jackson and the Olympians. This series is the first of two, and the first series that Rick Riordan wrote. It's about a 12-year-old boy who's the son of one of the gods, the Greek gods, and basically he has to go through and fight monsters while he's on quests and stuff to save the world. It sounds kind of childish, but they're actually middle grade, but I read them in 7th grade and they are phenomenal, so don't listen to the haters. Just blow it off. I think I actually read the first couple books in the series at the end of 2014, right before break or something. But I know I read like the last couple maybe probably in 2015. So I'm just going to count these as all 2015 because I don't remember exactly when I read them all. I would definitely give this entire series a 5 out of 5 stars. Next, there's the Heroes of Olympus series. The first book is called The Lost Hero. These are also by Rick Riordan. It's kind of the follow-up series to these. It includes 7 characters, 5 of which are brand new to the series. The first book does not actually involve Percy or any of the other previous main characters except Annabeth, partly. The only reason I continued reading at the beginning was when they first mentioned Percy Jackson's name in it, when Annabeth was speaking. So if you have any interest and if you liked these, then you're gonna love the Heroes of Olympus series, minus the last book. But let's not talk about that because there's another series coming, so we will get closure, hopefully. My next favorite books are the Mortal Instruments series written by Cassandra Clare. The first book is called The City of Bones. The second is City of Ashes. The third is City of Glass, City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, and City of Heavenly Fire. Okay, so I read the first 4 in 2014. I read this one over the summer, and then I wanted to wait to finish reading this series until I could get this one in paperback. This book is giant. Giant, I tell you. Giant, okay? Just freaking huge. But this is a great series. It's about this girl named Clary Frey. She thinks she's completely normal. She's like a mundane, as they would call it. And then she's introduced into the shadow world. She does not know what the Shadowhunter world is because basically all of her memories have been erased from it and taken elsewhere, or like basically any relations that she has with the shadow world is turned into something that would seem completely normal to her. Anything between this or that, but it's completely normal. So whenever her memories are finally starting to what is done to her is finally starting to wear off, she sees Jace Wayland, or Lightwood, or whatever last name you want him to be, because there's like 8 of them in the series, but that's beyond the point. She meets him, and since he's a Shadowhunter, he can make runes on himself, and one of them made him invisible. When he used this rune, she could see him, and only Shadowhunters and or non-mundanes can see people like this. Her with her best friend Simon at the Pandemonium. Simon can't see him because he's a mundane. So she goes looking for them and trying to protect this guy. And basically it starts off an entire series and he's like, You're not a mundane. Okay, what are you then? You have the sight. This isn't good. So basically, they take her into training, and her mom can't really do anything about it because it's kind of like her destiny to be within the shadow world again. Either 5 out of 5 or 4 out of 5 stars on all of these books. I don't know what my favorite one is. I think it's probably City of Glass because it introduces new characters that are involved in like the last 3 books, but it also has old characters that are within the first 2 books. So it's kind of like combines all of the stories together and starts out like a brand new thing. Okay, so next I have Eleanor and Park and Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This is not in a series, but these are 2 books by the same author. Alright, so I read this one at the beginning of this year, I believe, but I absolutely loved it, and my friends borrowed it, like 3 of them, I think. So the cover is all nasty and disgusting. But whatever. I have a dust jacket for a reason, right? Yeah. So the first book this book, which is the first one I read, is about a girl named Kath and her twin sister Ren. Originally, they thought it was just going to be one, so her name was going to be Catherine, and they just decided to split it up instead of coming up with a whole new name. Basically, these 2 girls are fangirls, like you and me, or whatever. And they fangirl and write fan fiction over Simon Snow, which is kind of a spinoff of Harry Potter. Rainbow Rowell actually wrote an entire book, like a fantasy novel that's much thicker than this, it's quite big actually, called Carry On, that is the fan fiction that Kath wrote in this book. You don't have to read this book to read the fan fiction, however, I really want to read that one. I don't own it yet, but I want to read it. So, Kath is sent off to college because, she has to go to college, and she wants to finish writing this fan fiction before the last book comes out at the end of this year, summer, or something like that. So she's trying to finish her fan fiction all of the while dealing with college, her roommate, who she thinks is just about insane, and her boyfriend, or her roommate's boyfriend. I don't remember her roommate's name at the moment. This is bad. Well, I don't see it here, but oh well. So this is written in 3rd person, which I completely forgot about until just now when I actually looked at it. 5 out of 5, definitely. I loved it so very much. So very much. It was very awesome. And then next I have Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. I believe I read this within like the last 4 or 5 months. I think I got it over the summer. I know I read it at school, like at the very, very beginning of the year. So it's a little bit beat up, but it's not too bad. I'm the only one who's actually read this copy, so. This is based in the 90s, I think, or the 80s. Hold on, it's at the very beginning of the book. 86. August of 1986 is when the story begins. So Eleanor has giant red poofy hair, like here, similar to mine when it's not stuffed into an ugly ponytail like this today. And Park is, well, doesn't describe him, but I think he's an Asian guy with like short hair. Eleanor ends up transferring to the school, and everybody already has a spot on the bus because it's senior year, I think. Senior year, I'm pretty sure. Or just junior, I don't remember. Been a little while, I've read a few books since then. But it's one of the last couple of years of high school, or maybe they're fresh. I don't know. I've forgotten. Basically, Eleanor and Park have to sit on the same seat on the bus. He's just kind of like, screw it. I don't even care. I'm not going to make you sit up there with a lousy freshman. You can sit with me as long as you don't talk or whatever. And then they find out they like the same music. Originally, how they start talking is Park reads comic books on the way to school. So he's sitting there reading, and then Eleanor looks over his shoulder, or like looks over the thing, like over the lap, like whatever, and there's a book, or a comic book, and she's reading with him. He starts to notice, so he slows down, waits for her to finish reading to turn the page, Then they start learning that they like the similar music and a variety of other things, and soon they fall in love. The ending, I'm awful. So many tears. Nobody dies though, so I mean, I can give it that one. 5 out of 5. Definitely all of the stars. Loved these books. Fair warning, before you start reading these, there is a bit of profanity in here. So just as a fair warning, I jumped right into this one and wasn't expecting it, and it just hit me right in the face. So just a fair warning. Also, there's fan fiction at the beginning of this, like at the end of each chapter, and it is not necessary to read it. Kind of wish I had now that there's another book coming out with the fan fiction. Then again, I'm kind of glad I didn't, because it might spoil it a little bit. So I have The Selection by Kiera Cass. This is a 5-book series, I believe, 3 of which involve America Singer and Maxon, and the last 2 involve Idlin and a variety of other candidates, along with America and Maxon. Okay, so The Selection is when a man is between like 18 and 20, and he needs to find a wife. So for Forever, the royalty has done a selection where it chooses 35 women from the different castes, 1 through 8, 1 being the royalty, and then 2 through 8 is below that. 8 is the worst, they're like slaves. 2 is very, very high with lots of money. It is rare that anybody above a 4 is in the selection. And most of the time, they get cast out pretty fast. So, America Singer is in love with somebody. Therefore, she doesn't want to be in the next selection, which is coming up for Maxon something. I'm drawing a blank. She's in love with this guy named Aspen. Aspen wants her to join the selection, as well as her parents and everybody else, or everybody else in the family, because it's a chance of a lifetime. We could be so rich. And Aspen's like, I want you to be happy. I want you to have all of this money, and I could never give it to you because I'm a 7 and you're a 5. And if you married me, we would drop down to a 7. So you're not really going to get anything out of this if we ever did get married. So she enters the selection thinking she's not going to get in. But as she's waiting in line, something happens that makes her very, very jovial. So she's very excited whenever her picture is snapped. And she has this really, really bright smile on her face. And she really, really is very, very happy. So she seems like really excited for the selection. And these people that go through and supposedly hand pick, so there's like 35 different sections and they get 1 from each section. Basically, they don't actually draw them from the thing. They actually kind of like snoop through and be like, oh, okay, she's worthy enough. But they make it seem odd enough, like random enough, that there's like 3 5s thrown in there to make it seem not completely unfair. So America is cast into this, and she doesn't want to be here. She's very, very upset, and her boyfriend ended up breaking up with her. She's not happy about this, not at all. Basically, it's her going through a variety of different, trials and tribulations, and her deciding that she might want to stay because as she's staying, she gives money to her family. She kind of is straight up with people about this, and it's very, very good. It's The Elite and The One are the next 2 books in the series, and then The Heir is their daughter. The Heir and The Crown, which are the last 2 books, follow a different character named Idlin, who theoretically you wouldn't have had to read the first 3 books to read the last 2, I don't think. The Crown comes out I think it's in May. I just looked it up earlier today. I think it's in May. And I'm very, very excited for it. So, yeah, I love this series very, very much. It I shipped them from the very beginning, if that says anything. Okay. Next, The Amazing Book is Not on Fire. This is obviously going in my favorite books. So good. Okay, so I got this book at, what's it called? Sam's. Originally it's like $20, right? And at Sam's everything is bargain price. So most books are like 20% off. This one was like $13, 20% off. So I got the book for like $13 instead of $20. And it's written by two of my favorite YouTubers, Dan Is Not on Fire, who is Dan Howell, and Amazing Phil, who is Phil Lester. Basically, they wrote an autobiography about their lives together because they're best friends and they do everything together. So it starts off, and it's basically like a conversation between the two of them, where they have like a color beside their name, or beside their, like, the letter. So Phil is blue and Dan is red. And they just have like their initial there, and then they're basically talking back and forth, telling the story of like how they met, their high school lives, or like their mom's reaction on when they were born and stuff like that. And then a few other things like, what chair are you? Because they have 6 different dining room chairs that are all different colors. I absolutely loved this book. It was really it was great. I loved it a lot. So if you like Dan and Phil, I suggest you pick this up or ask for it for whatever special occasion is coming next, because you need to read this. That's bottom line. Just read the book. Okay, next is Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins. So this book was suggested to me via Poland Bananas Books. I don't know her personally, but I love her, watching her videos, and she absolutely loves this book. And when I finished reading it, I was like, okay, wait, what's the ending? Isn't there more? Is there a sequel? And there's a sequel called Miss Mayhem, which I have not read because they don't have it at my library in softcover. And I don't want one of them in softcover and one of them in hardback. Yeah. So this is about a girl named Harper Price, who is like a Southern belle. I believe this is in, I don't know where it takes place, but it takes place somewhere in the South. I think it's Tennessee. Or one of the Carolinas. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while since I read the book. Basically, she wants to follow in her sister's footsteps, who is now dead, which you'll figure out why later. I don't want to spoil anything. And she wants to become prom queen and homecoming queen, or whatever it is, and stuff like that. And then everything gets screwed up whenever she becomes a paladin, and the person she has to protect is her worst enemy. So she has the perfect life with the perfect boyfriend and everything like that. And then things just kind of start falling apart when she has to start hanging out, basically, and getting along with her worst enemy. People start questioning it. Why is she with him so much? So she has to lie about things, and things end up going very, very badly for her. And then at the end, there's a very big plot twist, which was very, very well played. I really liked it, and I think I gave it like 4. I think I would give it 4 out of 5 stars, or 5 out of 5. I mean, I really liked it. I need to read the next one. The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, or I'm gonna go with that because that sounds about right. So this book is kind of oddly written. It's written in the form of letters in 4 different parts and an epilogue. So he writes to you. It's not to like somebody he knows, but it's dear friend with a date each time. It's dated in 1990, starting on August 25th in 1991 to, is that the epilogue one? Through August 23rd of 1992. So it's over an entire year. And he's basically, he's going into high school. He's extremely scared and doesn't want to know what to do. So he's talking to you or somebody that's not necessarily you, but it's you because you're the friend. And he's basically telling you everything about his life, like what's happening, who his friends are, what's happening, and everything about it. It's basically a coming of age story in high school, back in 1991. He becomes best friends with two seniors who are brother and sister, and it was really, really enjoyable. I really liked it. Like, I don't know what to say, like the storyline of it. Just know that you should read it and watch like the movie trailer or something to decide whether you want to buy it or not. But I suggest you do. It is tiny. It's so small. Like, my finger is just about it's thicker than it. Finger's thicker than it. And then it's way shorter than a normal book. So, I think I read this in 2 days over the summer. 2-3 days, probably. Like, tops. That's it. Won't take long. It's really, really good. And lastly, I have the Maze Runner series, written by James Dashner. The movies are awful. Don't look at the movies. Look at these. Look at these. Floppy paperbacks. I'm actually missing the last book in the actual series called The Death Cure. My friend is borrowing it and has been for a while, but hasn't given it back yet. She's been reading like 8 books at the same time, so it's kind of going to annoy that factor and hope that I get it back. So the first book is called The Maze Runner. Basically, all of these boys who are between the ages of like 11 and 16 are thrown into this thing, this giant box, this giant maze per se. And so there's a box around it, and then there's a maze outside of this box with sliding door, like concrete doors that slide open. Inside the maze, there are grievers, which kill you. Look at the stack falling here. Very nice, very nice. So these grievers can kill you, and they take you back, and whatever. Inside the maze, there are plates that say Wicked, World in Catastrophe, something, Experiment, something. Wait, hold on. WICKED. World in Catastrophe. I don't know. But it's yeah. So the world is basically falling apart, and the Maze Runner is a kind of experimental zone. Wicked, K, Experiment. I'll figure this out eventually, or look it up. So Thomas, he doesn't have a last name. I was about to say it's Thomas Birdie Sangster, because he plays Newt, which is one of the main characters in here. So Thomas is he's thrown into the store. We start at the very beginning where he's writing up the box, which brings new greenies or whatever they are into the glade, which is what they call the big area and stuff. And it's basically completely self-sustaining. They have cattle and food and everything they need. So he's brought up in this lift with different supplies, like the different foods that they might need, or like shoes and jackets. Basically, you have to drop a note down there and saying, oh, we need 3 extra pairs of shoes because ours are falling apart. And they'll bring some up with them. Whenever they get here, they realize that their memories are gone. They have no idea who they are. The only thing they know is their name. He doesn't know anybody. These people have developed like their own language, shank, clunker, whatever it is. Like, there's just a variety of different things that they make up themselves that make sense, that really do make sense and are very, very creative. The movies have nothing to do with the book. I haven't even seen The Scorched Trials because I don't really have an interest in seeing it. I want to watch it just to see like how bad it is compared to the movies or compared to the books, and see how much it doesn't follow storyline. The next book is called The Scorched Trials, and the prequel is called The Kill Order. There's actually another prequel coming out soon called The Fever Code that is right before everything goes down in the Glade and why they're put in the maze and stuff. And it's actually from Newt's point of view, which is one of the main characters in this series. Minho is also a character in Gally and Albie, as well as Chuck and Teresa and a few more. These are very, very good books, and if you don't really have any interest in reading them because somebody said they weren't very good, try and ignore that because it was like one person. One person doesn't decide the entire world for you. So Magnus Chase and The Sword of Summer, which is the first book in the series of Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard by Rick Riordan, actually did not make my list. I thought this book was phenomenal. The only reason it did not make my list was because I was in a reading slump while I was reading this. So I basically had to force myself through it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was really, really good. All of my friends have really enjoyed it. They've plowed right through it, but I haven't really. I was in a slump, basically. I've practically been in a slump the entire school year. I read like 2 books since the school year started, and I've plowed right through each of those books. And then I just kind of stopped reading. I didn't have an interest in reading. I had so much going on between the science fair and the history fair and everything else that I haven't really had much time to read. I haven't had much of a reason to read. I've been too busy. I just need to get back into reading. So I finished the book and I thought it was phenomenal, but I'm not really going to do a review on it or anything because it is not in my top list. But it's very, very nice looking and very pretty. I do recommend it to you if you haven't read it, because it did just come out like recently, like very, very recently. So my favorite books of 2015 plus these 6, which I'm not putting in the stack because this stack is giant and I already feel like I'm gonna drop it. I really suggest that you read any of these books in any order except these. These need to be in order. Those need to be in order. Otherwise, you'll get spoiled. I really hope you enjoyed this video. So, yeah. Bye.
This has been a video by The Little White Bookshelf. Thank you for watching and subscribe.